Hello good people and welcome back to another math video. This one going over the fraction quiz review homework that was assigned today so that you'll have the correct answers as you practice. We did a bunch in class. The one we left off on was 7c, which reads -1/8 plus -3/16. The first thing I want to call your attention to is our integer rules, where we talked about adding negative numbers. If we're adding a negative plus a negative, my answer is going to be negative. Okay, well, let's see. I need common denominators, and I don't have them. I have 8 and 16. Well, 8 will go into 16, so I can use 16ths. That's cool. So we'll turn this into 16ths, and this into 16ths. This is already 16ths, so I can just keep it. Alright, now, what do I have to multiply? To go from 8 to 16, I have to multiply by 2. So I have to multiply my top number by 2 as well. So, -2/16 plus -3/16 is -5/16. There's my final answer. The next one, we have a mixed number, 5 2/3 times 8/12. If you weren't sure about this symbol, it's just another way that we can write multiplication with a dot. So we want to start out by turning this into an improper fraction. So 3 times 5 is 15, plus 2 is 17. So I'd have 17/3 times 8/12. And looking quickly, I don't see any good cross reducing we can do right now. So we're going to end up with kind of some big, ugly numbers here. Alright, so off to the side, I'd work this out. 17 times 8. 8 times 7 is 56. Carry the 5. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 5 is 13. So I'd have 136. And 3 times 12 is 36. So I have 136 over 36. So I'd ask myself, how many times does 36 go into 136? Well, one time would be 36, 2 times would be 72. I'm getting there. Let's see, 3 times, that looks like it's going to be just over 100. So that's probably what it is. So let's work that out. 36 times 3, 18, carry the 1, 108. Yeah, that's as close as I can go. So I'm going to do 3 times. Alright, and so that got me to 108. So now we'll just work through the long division to see what we have left over. I'm going to borrow here. 16 minus 8 is 8. 2 minus 0 is still 2. So I've got 28 left over. So I have 28/36. And these are both divisible. I'm just going to draw it over here to move it and give myself some room. They're both even. I could divide by 2. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, they can both be divided by 4. So 28 divided by 4 is 7. And 36 divided by 4 is 9. So I'd have 3 7/9. Problem 7e says -7/8 divided by 5/6. So my rules for dividing fractions: keep, change, and flip. So remember, -7/8 will keep, division will change to multiplication, and then we have to flip 5/6 to its reciprocal of 6/5. Now I can look to see, can I cross reduce anything? Well, these are even, 8 and 6. I can divide by 2 and get 4. Divide by 2 and get 3. A little better to work with. And now I multiply across. 7 times 3 is 21. 4 times 5 is 20. And I have one negative, and when my signs are different in multiplying, my answer is negative. So 21/20, -21/20. And this is an improper fraction. So 20 would go into 21 one time with 1 left over. So there'd be my final answer there. -1 and 1/20. Problem 7F, another multiplying problem. First off, I'd start by getting rid of this mixed number, make it improper. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10, so I'd have 10 fourths times, I feel like that, 8 twelfths. Hope you see some cross-reducing we can do here. Well, 4 would go into 4 one time, 4 would go into 8 two times, and I can cross-reduce in the other direction as well, dividing these by 2. This would be 5, and this would be 6. So now when I multiply, I'm multiplying 5 times 2, get 10, and 6 times 1 is 6, and this would of course reduce. 6 goes into 10 one time with 4 left over, and I could reduce that one step further by dividing the top and bottom by 2 to get 1 2/3. Now the bottom problem involves a chart, and they're going to give you one form of the number and asking you to convert it to another form. And just so you know the setup here in the video, here's my chart, but I'm going to do my work on the next slide, and so I'm going to pop back and forth between these a little bit. Alright, in the first one we have 7/10. Now, as a decimal, if you listen to me say this fraction, 7/10, well, I could just write that as I'm saying it. This would be 7/10 as a decimal. Okay. Now, converting that to a percent, remember to get a percent, we're going to move our decimal point 2 places to the right. What does that look like? Well, here's my 7/10. If I move my decimal point 2 places to the right, it's got to be over here. Now, so I need to put a number in this spot. So we can add a 0 without changing the value. So as a percent, that's going to be 70%. I move my decimal point over 2 spots. Alright, the next one, I have a decimal of 8/100. Now remember, to go from decimal to fraction, we can just read these and write down what we are saying out loud. 8/100. So 0.08. Okay, 8/100. I can actually write that as 8/100. Now this can be reduced, of course. So I see that they're both even. I could do it that way and divide them by 2, so I get 4/50. Actually, I could divide them by 2 again, and I could get 2/25 as my fraction in lowest terms. So I'd have 2/25. Now, to write it as a percent, remember, we're moving that decimal point to the right 2 places. So if I have 0.08, and I move that decimal point 2 spots to the right, I'm just going to be left with 8%. So this is 8%. Okay, the next one, 3%. So now we need to move in the other direction. We have 3%, and we need to turn it into a decimal. Well, we know that there really is a decimal point here, and if we're going to go from percent to decimal, we have to follow our rule, but we just have to follow it in reverse. We need to move that decimal point 2 places over to the left. So when we do that, we'd have our 3 moving it 2 places to the left. We'd end up with a number looking like this. So there's my decimal. And if I read that decimal, it is 3/100. So I can just write down as a fraction what I just read, 3/100. Alright, my next one here, 3/5. 2 different ways to think about that. 3/5. One is we can always do top dog in the house. So let's put our 3 in the house, and we'll divide by the 5. 5 does not go into 3. Bring your decimal point up, but it does go into 30 6 times, and that goes evenly So there's your decimal, 0.6. Here is it another way. If you saw this, we know that if we make things out of tenths, that does decimals real easy. And you might say to yourself, well, if I multiplied my 5 times 2, I'd get 10. If I multiply my 3 times 2, I'd get 6. So the 6 tenths, and I know that 6 tenths as a fraction is equal to 6 tenths as a decimal. Alright, so now just converting to a percent, we have our 0.6 right here. We know that if we move that decimal point 2 places, we will have a percent. So as a decimal, this would be 60%. Okay, well, that's it on that one. A little bit longer, but hopefully that helped you with the review sheet. Have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow.